Greetings, friends. Greetings from Sabil. Greetings from Jerusalem. For the people who were attending the meeting earlier, I shared the news about the heat wave that we're having in Jerusalem. It's not really a heat wave. We cannot admit it's a real heat wave, but it's the temperature are in the late 20s Celsius. I don't know how this would translate if you live in the non-Celsius world. I think it's from you're in the US or other countries. So it's not very hot, but it's the hottest day since December, since Christmas. So we're enjoying it. At least some people are enjoying it. This day is, this week is the week that many Palestinians, we Palestinians around the world, we commemorate the Nakba. 75 years since the establishment of the State of Israel. We're working at Sabil on developing a simplified history book from the perspective of Palestinian Christians on the history of the Holy Land. And we're looking, and I think Nakba is one of the major historical events that took place at least in the last 2,000 years. Maybe one of the major events, less than a handful events that make it top of the list. So for people who are not aware, although I think you are all aware of Nakba, it's when 2/3 of historical Palestine was taken over by what has become today the State of Israel. Some would say it depends. We don't, as of this date, we don't have consensus on the number of villages that have been depopulated. When I was a little kid, Palestinian historians wrote over 418 Palestinian towns and villages were completely destroyed. Then Ilan Pape produced his famous book about Nakba, and he mentioned, or he referenced the number 531 villages and towns. Today, many scholars would even say between the towns, villages, and hamlets, over 630 Palestinian towns were destroyed or depopulated in 1948. It's almost impossible to meet a Palestinian that not even one person of his, one member of his direct grandparents is a refugee or a direct descendant of refugees. Today, we're happy to have Saed with us. Saed, can we check the technology if your mic and your camera are working?
Hello, greeting for everyone.
Marhaba Saed, how are you?
Hello, Habib, thank you so much.
So Saed actually just just finished teaching at Bethlehem University.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just running as well.
Yes, it's maybe you broke a world record in running. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to make the math, but we will give you a medal. Thank you, Saed, for being with us.
You're welcome, thank you. Actually, yes. I maybe need...
the camera is not working, Saed.
Yeah, because I need up to 2 or 3 minutes until I prepare, I'm bringing the camera, and I'm gonna start directly.
Okay, so we'll do an icebreaker activity. So please grab a piece of plain A4 paper and just draw how you imagine Saed looks like. The closest painting will win a prize, I think. You get to ask 2 questions in this Kumi session.
Yeah, I agree on this.
So, many of us are glad that that the attack on Gaza is over. Sadly, Gaza goes from every couple of years on average goes through a war with Israel. Israel launches missiles, attacks, and many people continue to go from one trauma to another. That's the sad reality of life in Gaza. I was just reading a documentary about all of the watermelon farms in Gaza. They were all bombed, and Gaza was producing most of the watermelons for the local Palestinian market, and I think 70% of the watermelon market has been lost in the last bombings. So the destruction is beyond buildings and human life, the property. It also affects agriculture. Many of us are also following the court case of Shadi Khouri. Many of you are already receiving the updates from the family. If you'd like to receive them, we don't want to spam everybody with all of the news that continues to come out. Please let us know. Send us by email to Kumi, and we will add you to the list and give you like special updates. I mean, in the coming few days, there are 3 court cases for Shadi, was a 16-year-old kid. And actually now in Palestine, most schools are finishing their school years, and they're moving into summertime. And the coming 2 weeks are very important because it's the time for exams. And within the Palestinian education systems, you have to pass all exams. And with Shadi, he has lost many weeks or months from attending school, and because he was in prison, then a number of months because he was under home arrest. So a lot of stuff, a lot of education he needs to catch up before the exams. So please remember everyone in your prayers and your thoughts who are going through Palestinian education exams, but especially Shadi. And also all of the kids in Gaza who are going into exams as the war has ended. You know, many of them are already traumatized with all of the pressure of living in a few weeks of bombings and a few days of a week of bombings and attacks. And yes, true. I mean, it's very sad. Sometimes, you know, there's also an update on the court of 10th of Nations. So it's an ever-ending experience from one court to another court to another court, and each court case is extremely expensive. It's already extremely time-consuming, and there is a lot of work with deadlines that you need to prepare, get all of your neighbors, collect signatures, prepare your paperwork, resubmit your paperwork. Extremely time-consuming, and imagine somebody's going through this for 3 decades or more than 3 decades, like the 10th of Nations. There's so many other families who are also going through these court cases, and sadly many of them don't have the resources or the energy or even the connections to exert pressure on the state of Israel. This Thursday is going to be a very tense day in Jerusalem, because for a number of years there has been a tradition for right-wing Israelis that they would do the Jerusalem March, that they would celebrate it's the occupation of East Jerusalem, but in their language, it is the unification or reunification of Jerusalem between both East Jerusalem and when East Jerusalem was annexed illegally by the state of Israel. So it's a very tense day. The past few years, it was extremely tense and sparked violence, and even maybe was a cause or a main cause of starting a war, attacks between Gaza and the West Bank and Israel. So although we feel that we just closed the chapter of Gaza, is temporary. Thursday might be another day that would spark violence and tensions again. The Israeli right-wing government, actually now there are reports that are coming out, exit polls about the satisfaction of the Israeli society. And Netanyahu has done extremely well within the Israeli society in getting people are giving excellent feedback to how Netanyahu managed the war on Gaza, which is very sad because it shows that it's continuously, the Israeli society continues to move towards the extreme right rather than rather than to re-question their stance on human rights and international law. Not that there is an Israeli left within the government, but I mean, definitely it's Ben Gavir and Smotrich and Lieberman and Netanyahu are the most extreme. Yeah. So Saad, I think Saad has run back to Bethlehem University trying to break the world, his record again. Saad? Maybe Saad, we need to unmute him. Oh, maybe that's the problem. Saad, can you unmute yourself? Yes.
Hello? Yeah, okay. I was waiting for you to unmute me, actually.
Okay, sorry, you should have written us. Saad, are you there?
Yeah, I am there. Like, does it like, is the video working right now?
The video, I'm not sure about the video. It's I'm having problems with my computer, but can you see Saad? Okay, if Daryl sees Saad, that's enough for us. Saad, yes. So I was sharing with all of our friends that we are, as Palestinians, commemorating 75 years of Nakba, ongoing Nakba. I want to say, first of all, thank you for being with us. We appreciate that you made it immediately after work. So thank you very much, and we appreciate it, Saad.
You're welcome. Okay, maybe this one is...
Yeah, that's better, Saad.
Okay, it's like the laptop camera. Okay.
So Saad, can you please introduce yourself briefly?
Of course. So thank you for actually hosting me in this program, actually. I am honored to be here. This is Saad Zboon, one of the refugees, and like I live in one of the camps that's called Aida. I am a teacher at Bethlehem University. I teach Arabic as a second language. And also like I'm a gymnastic trainer. I train gymnastics for the kids and the youth in the camp that they live in. And of course, one of the third generation of the Nakba and one of the witnesses of the ongoing massacres and genocides here in Palestine.
So Saad, you teach you teach Arabic at the university, yes?
Yes.
So you teach Arabic for Palestinian students or for international students?
Both, actually, international and locals.
Locals. Amazing. And you're an athlete, and thank you for being with us today, Saad.
You're welcome.
You're a third generation refugee, Saad. From what village do you come from? Does your family come from?
So, well, today, actually, like these days are the memorial of the Nakba. And the Nakba, I think that most of you are familiar with this concept, which is the catastrophe, the ethnic cleansing that happened during the 1948. So before we need to speak about the Nakba itself, or before speaking where I'm from, like where I'm originally from, we need to understand the context or the history of the Nakba before speaking about it, like, and what the thing that led to this place. So you have to know that Palestine was belonged for the Palestinians in the 1917 and the 1940s and before. And of course, when we say Palestinians, we mean Christians, Muslims, Jewish at the same time. That's the concept of the Palestinians. And what happened for us? What happened for Palestine? Everything started in 1889. Once 200 nationalist Zionists got in a meeting in Switzerland, and they decided to create a country for them in one part of the world. I'm not sure like if you all know that they wanted to build their country first in different countries than Palestine. They thought of Uganda, Argentina, Mexico, and actually South Africa. And after that, after different meetings, they started thinking of Palestine, because they said, all right, like we could say that we have been here before 2,000 years. We are like the chosen people, like the country, this land was promised by God. which is a way to exploit the religion as a colonialism tool. Since that time, they started coming in a huge number to Palestine, and the Palestinians welcomed all of them, because Palestine, again, was for everyone. So, but everything started to be clear on the 1917, after Balfour Declaration, where the British promised the Zionists to give them the half of our land, and that's the escalation where it started to happen, and as they call it, conflict started to happen between the Palestinians and the Zionists. And there is like very important thing to understand in this context, that the situation here, it's not called conflict at all. It's called ethnic cleansing. It's called land theft, settler colonialism. It's called like apartheid and military occupation. And of course, it has nothing to do with religion. So for us, we have been always been taught that there is a difference between a Jewish, but like as a religious person, and a Zionist who exploit the religion, as a colonialism tool. That's what we have been always taught since we were born here in Palestine. So the other thing, actually, I have, again, like 50 Jewish friends, and I let 5 of them sleep in my room in the middle of a refugee camp in Palestine, and which is something that's like absolutely like fine with us, as long as they're pro-Palestinian and against this kind of occupation and this kind of ethnic cleansing. Again, in the 1947, the UN was responsible about dividing our country. They divided our country as a piece of cake, different pieces for everyone. Actually, I have a map. I think that you're also familiar with it. 1 second. I'm not sure if you all can see it well, but that's how Palestine looked like, and that's why that's the Palestine for the Palestinians. And look what we have right now. It's just like more like islands. It's not a country, it's not a state anymore. And this is here in this map. Okay, in this map here, like that's the first UN plan to divide our country, where they gave 50% for the Zionists and 45% for the Palestinians, for the indigenous who own the land. So after that, after this, like it led to the Nakba, which is again that you're familiar with. It's a catastrophe, and the Nakba is still ongoing, like still till now. The Nakba hasn't finished on the 1948. It's still continuous till this day. And like over than 15,000 Palestinians were killed. Over than like 500 villages and towns were completely demolished and like demolished to the ground. And of course, like unfortunately, 800,000 Palestinians were expelled from their own houses and villages. So for me, again, this is Said, like from a refugee camp, who live in a refugee camp. We are originally from Jerusalem. My grandfather came from Jerusalem. Like he actually was forced to leave Jerusalem from the old city. 25 years old, and I have never been to Jerusalem my whole life, even though it's our homeland and it's our actually our like home, our like land, and our like indigenous place. So that's why it's 15 minutes far away from my place, only 15 minutes. And we're not allowed to reach it, and I have never been there my whole life. So there are like thousands of and hundreds of thousands of stories of the Palestinians during the Nakba and what happened to them. I would like to recall one of them, which is of my grandfather, actually, once he forced to leave. And you know that they always said the old generation is gonna die and the young generation is gonna forget. But this is the thing that will never happen here in this country as long as we have blood in our veins. So once my grandfather left or forced to leave Jerusalem, he told my grandmother like a crazy dialogue before they left. He told her to not turn off the stove over the cooking pot. Can you believe that? Why? Because he told her we are gonna take 2 hours and we will be back after that. and we have to find our food ready after the long journey of 2 hours. Now it's 75 years, and our home and our actually food is not ready yet. 75 years and the food is not ready. And that's why most of the Palestinians, once they left their lands, once they left their towns and like cities, they only got with them two things. Only two things. The majority of the Palestinians got two things once they left their lands. These two things are their memories of their life before the Nakba, and also their keys. The keys that they use for their own houses. So why they got only the keys? Like I always asked my grandfather, like, why you just got your keys? And again, it's the answer of every Palestinians, that was displaced. They would say, we got our keys because we thought that this war is going to take 1 day, maximum 2 days. That's why they hid everything in their houses. They left their gold, their money, their valuable things, hoping or thinking that they're going to be back in a few days. And actually, like my grandfather, like in his case, he thought it's just only 2 hours. And that's why we look at the key as a kind of representation of the right of return. We look at it as something, like symbolic, that we have rights and we should actually follow these rights as well. So our home right now still exists. There is no change in our home at all. It is as it was built, as like my grandfather built it. It's a very fascinating house. I may like show you like its picture. I would send it actually in the chat in a bit. So my grandfather like he built it with his hand, actually, with his hands and with the help of his brothers. It's still in Jerusalem in the old city. Nothing has changed in it except one thing. There is one change in our house. And this change is that it's inhabited by the Israeli settlers. This is the only change that we have in our home. You know what? The UN officials came to our family because we have the documents of our home and everything. And they asked us, like, would you like to send a message for the settler who live in your house? And of course, we didn't agree on that. We said, the settler or this person knows already what's going on and would never like send a message to the oppressor. There is no talk between the oppressed and the oppressor, and they already know that. Anyway, the UN didn't like answer like what we said to them. They went to this family who live in our house and they asked them, what do you feel in living in a place that doesn't belong for you? Do you know what they answered? That's like a typical answer. They said, it's the government fault. Don't come and ask us. And that's how the interview like ended. We already like asked the UN to not speak with them because we know what's their answer. We know like that they're not gonna like be like helpful or like any or to respond to our suffering, because like in the 1948 they massacred our family. We were thrown in the camps, in the caves. Actually, the camps were established after 2 years of the Nakba. During these 2 years, it was the most also catastrophic years on the Palestinians. My grandfather told me, like, they didn't have anything to eat. So they used to eat the leaves of the trees in order to survive. And he also like told me that that winter was the coldest winter ever because they didn't have shelter to protect them from the cold of the winter as well. So that's the 2 years of the after the Nakba that the Palestinians lived almost being ignored, but they're like much as worse as the Nakba itself. And after the Nakba of 2 years, the camps were established by the UN after they were responsible about the situation after leaving us facing this fascist and like terrorism by the brutality of the Zionism. So in the 1950, the UN came to 5 main places, 5 main areas, which are the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. These are the 5 main areas where the Palestinians escaped to as a kind of, thinking that they're going to be back in a few days. And that's why they went to the closest areas for their like country or their villages and towns. During the First War, they didn't go to Europe, nor to the United States or farther than these places. Again, this is the thought that they thought that they're going to be back in a few days. Now there are 61 camps inside and outside Palestine. And the biggest camp, it's called Al Yarmouk. It's located in Syria. It's almost like more than 300,000 Palestinians live in one camp, which is insane. And our mind can't handle this, capacity. And also the biggest two camps, they are located in Gaza Strip. The first camp is called Rafah and the other Jabalia, more than 300,000 Palestinians in each one, which is actually it's very distant, in one of the biggest prisons in the whole world. So for us, actually, for me, I came from a camp. It's called Aida. It's in Bethlehem, and there's another two camps also in Bethlehem. And Aida is one of the smallest camps among the others. It's less than kilometer square for more than 6,000 Palestinians live in very limited space. So if we want to describe a camp, it's gonna be through our lenses, through our eyes. The camp for us is a factory of pain. It's like a grave of hopes and dreams, and at the same time, yards of aspiration. That's the concept of a camp right now. And actually, the camp that we're in had graduated many entrepreneurs, writers, engineers, teachers, despite the whole obstacles that we're facing here in this place and this country. So in every corner in this camp, there is reminder of the Nakba massacres. Every wall in this camp, it has something returns to our massacres as well that have been committed on the Palestinians. So, and actually, there is a big wall that speaks about the massacres that happened in the Nakba, which is there are more than 100 massacres, but the Israeli admit only 33 one. So out of the 100, they only admit 33, and they try to summarize it with one massacre, which is the massacre of Deir Yassin. But of course, they have done much worse than Deir Yassin, but they're trying to put it only as a face in the media, that this is the only massacres that we have done, because there are a lot of documentary about it. That's why they admitted about this massacre. So the massacre of the Waima, the massacre of the Ramla, and more than 100 of massacres were committed against the Palestinians, and everyone is being documented in every place and in every corner in the camp that we live in a way to tell and to spread the message to the world and to remind us of our history, to remind us of our past, in order to look at the future and the perspective of the refugees here in Palestine. Now it's 75 years of the Nakba, of the ongoing ethnic cleansing, of the ongoing apartheid, ongoing massacres. We still didn't this Nakba hasn't finished yet. Every single day I wake up in this camp that I live in, which is next to one of the military bases. Every single day I wake up and I say it's a new day of surviving under this occupation. Every single day we think that this is our last day, because we could be killed in any moment, anytime, anywhere, and no one could bring justice for us. 75 years, and the world is still blind on the crime that the Israeli commit against the Palestinians. 75 years, and the Palestinians are standing by themselves against such kind of oppression. 75 years, and we are trying to grow out of the ruins. We're trying to bring our justice back after the world has failed to bring it back to us. So that's the sole concept of the Palestinians, and that's the refugees that have been subjected to the violence, brutality in every single day. And actually here, where I live in this camp, yesterday and the day before yesterday, the Israeli entered, invaded our camp, where the kids in this camp were just flying the kites. There was competition for the one who fly the kites the higher and the most beautiful kite, and they will get kind of reward. because of the Nakba memorial. The Israeli didn't even like that. They start shooting the kites, like a normal kite for a child, like that's playing with it, and it's like terrifying you and their fake state. They started shooting such kind of kites and shooting tear gas at the kids, at the people in the camp randomly, because they just were like flying their kites. And every single moment of this event was recorded live on Facebook. I would love also like at the end of this like meeting, send you like these links to see every single thing that happened just like yesterday and the day before yesterday. During that 2 days, 2 children were shot. Children, like we're speaking about like 13 years old, and another one is 14 years old. One of them was shot in his leg, and he is a football player, a very known football player in the camp, and the Israeli know about that. So they shot him in his leg. That was 2 days ago. With a bullet, it's called explosive bullet. This kind of bullet, it's forbidden, actually, according to the Geneva articles, it's forbidden to use it in a war, like between like 2 countries having wars. You should not use it according to the Geneva, articles. But of course, for the Palestinians who are being marginalized, were not even considered part of this war. So they used such kind of bullets without any reason for the 2 kids. One of them completely lost their leg, and the other one like got shot in his stomach. And this kind of bullets explode once you shot them, once they like settle down in your body. It makes like kind of a mushroom hole. That's why you call it also the mushroom bullet. So, and this is a thing that the mothers here in this camp have been handling since the beginning of the Nakba till this day, since all of this brutality, and we still are handling all of these things. And the Palestinians are always have to play the role of the hero, whatever we're losing, like we're losing like our brothers, like without any reason, we're losing our like parents, family, like relatives, friends. We are expected to not even like share one tear for them, because we don't want to let the world think that we surrounded. We don't let them think that we are like, we just like, we got enough from this. Of course, we got enough from this, like, but we don't let them to see that they like faced us and they won against the Palestinians and our will, which is something, it's another burden that we're holding in our shoulders. We can't show emotions, we can't show things when the brutality is being subjected towards the Palestinians. And that's another burden that we're having. We should always as we're like always have to accept everything is happening to the Palestinians. And this is so wrong. What we need is just to live as humans and to be looked at as humans, nothing more than that. So that's actually like the concept of the Palestinians. That's our standing, that's our fighting. Like every single day we wake up and we teach the world how to live their life. Even we are like under such kind of obstacles. Every single day, we know that death doesn't know any age, any time. We could be killed in any moment, but we still teach the world how to live their life. And that's the thing that we're like facing. That's the thing that we're being through since the Nakba till this day.
Thank you very much, Saad. Saad, I want to ask you, you mentioned about the kite flying. This activity took place yesterday?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
2 days, and it was held in Aida camp alone or across different camps?
Actually, in Aida camp alone.
Oh. And is there like footage that is available?
Footages, videos, everything they are all available, everything.
It might be good to send it to us. You can send it to Ryan and we can send it as a link.
Of course.
So people will be, if there is anything that is in writing that came out, who did this activity? Which?
So like here, like there are like centers in the camp that are always trying, to drag the attention of the kids to their own case. So this thing was like part of Aida Youth Center and Lajit Center, like they're like in Aida camp located, and they're doing like different activities. That's like to try to help the community in different ways. So, for example, like in the center that I'm in right now, it's called the Adayo Center. It was established in the 1969 by a football team. And this team actually thought of having it like a community for the camp. So they started actually like, getting a person from each family, from each religion, because, here we're from different villages and cities. Here in this camp, we came from 27 backgrounds and towns and cities and villages, 27. There are the Christians, the Muslims, the atheists, but we managed to live as one big community and as one big family. So this football team, in order to unite the people under one roof, they got a person from each family, from each religion, each place. And that's what we call it, Odd team, which is the return, the team of return. And this idea got bigger and bigger until like now we have like a big community. It was like funded by Palestinians with their own hands. Now people can have their funerals, weddings, birthday party in the second floor. And the first floor, for example, that I'm in right now, it's for like the community, like where they can come and read books. It's like a kind of a free space for everyone. We have like a section of music, section of Dabka, the Palestinians dance actually, a section of healthcare. It's like a place, a community to help as much as they could to have the sense of belonging and to help the community their own. And everything in here is being led by the volunteers and the youth in the camp. That would make it a successful place for the world, like in the camp. And of course, beside all of this, we have an advocacy section where we actually have, a place for people to come and to visit, to get like resources and to know more about the daily life in the camp and to have more researches about Palestine.
So, Saad, you mentioned that you, if my memory is right, you said you are the third generation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, are your grandparents alive or?
Actually, my grandfather, he's alive. He's 99 years old. He's older than the state of Israel, And actually,
generation.
Yeah, before I came here, he gave me something. 1 second. So I told my grandfather that like I'm gonna speak on your behalf. I'm gonna tell your stories to everyone, and I'm gonna tell everyone what you have told me and what you're like. Every single time I sit with my grandfather, I feel that I'm sitting with like a book with a rich history, and to tell me every single day I hear him to tell me about the life before the Nakba. So before I came here, he told me I will give you one thing. You should he said literally sacrifice your life protecting it. Like he's exaggerating, but which is this one. The key of his own house. So.
And you come from which village, your family?
Not from a village, I'm from Jerusalem, the city itself.
Jerusalem. My family, we're also refugees from Jerusalem. Which part of Jerusalem?
The old city.
The old city.
And actually, our home is still there. It's like في حي الدوايب الطيبة. I'm gonna show you a picture of it.
Have you ever visited it?
We are not allowed at all to reach our place. I'm 25 years old. I have never been in my whole life to one of the seas, which is we are located here in Palestine on 3 main seas. And I have never had the chance or the opportunity to visit it. I mean, it's insane to tell you that our biggest dream is to see the sea in our life, and that's it. So I mean, we have a very successful life from our perspective, but yet still our biggest dream is to reach one of the seas and to see the sea that God created for everyone, and the Palestinians are being forbidden of it without any single reason.
Yeah, it's one of the sad realities that it's although there's the farthest place in Palestine from the sea is less than an hour drive, and most of our population, especially the younger people, have never seen the sea in their life. Yes, so this is your grandfather, yes?
So this is my grandfather. I'm not sure if you all can see it very well. So every wrinkle in his face holds a rich history. And this is actually our home.
Saad, around the world, many places, people are commemorating in Nakba. I mean, we get updates from many of our friends around the world. In Norway, huge demonstrations. In Sweden, many parts of the world. I mean, people who are like remembering, commemorating, showing solidarity with the Palestinian people as we go and still experience the ongoing Nakba. What has happened at the university with the younger generation with commemorating Nakba? How did Bethlehem University and the students commemorate Nakba?
So first of all, like we all wear like black t-shirts, and like with the Palestinians and the right of return, like every Palestinians wore it like yesterday, and we have the black flags like as a mourning, and to remind and to speak and to not like actually like try to forget what happened in Palestine. So why? Because one of the prime ministers, and actually Ben Gurion also said, again, the old generation is gonna die, and the new generation is gonna forget about the massacres that happened. And that's what we're trying, you know, to always like not have to like always like to be following and to remember and to tell what literally happened for the Palestinians.
I have a friend, somebody that I met recently through my sister, and she has discovered a community inside Israel. I mean, she lives inside Israel, community of Israeli collectors who have found it as their hobby to collect old photos of Palestine. I mean, pre 1948 occupation. So they have like archives, treasures of archives of our own history. And she goes to their houses and she takes photos and she looks into the pictures and asks where did they get the books and so on. Palestine has always been a rich place with a community, with a vibrant community living in it. And still, we're not talking about history. There is still our people are not extinct. We're present, and people like Saad, you are a person filled with energy. You're a young person. I feel you're filled with positive energy. You're a good guy working in Bethlehem University, very passionate. The relationship with your grandfather is amazing, and that you are a dedicated Palestinian. And what makes it really exciting is that Saad is not a unique case. Many of our Palestinian people are like Saad, filled with energy, with hope, and with excitement, and with certainty that the right of return will happen. And we haven't given up on our rights as a Palestinian people. So I want to say thank you, Saad, for who you are and for the amazing work that you are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So it's when people get confused, like I'd like to get your opinion, because when people commemorate tragedies in their society, they're remembering sad events in their history. When we Palestinians, are we only commemorating Nakba, or what are we doing exactly?
So we are, of course, commemorating the Nakba, and also to resist, to focus on resisting. And actually, like, we are also resisting in different ways, different methods. Like our existence in these places considered a huge resistance. So because what they want from us, like to push all of us out of this place. So by the same term of your existence in this place is a huge resistance for us. You know, like being successful in these like situations is resistance as well. Like to have like many like writers, many like voices in Palestine, because the Israelis are trying to shut our voices, and the more that they're trying to do that, the more that we get louder, and that's another way of resisting. Because if we actually, the Palestinians have tried to resist in every single way that they able to. They tried to resist, like they tried the armed resisting, peaceful resisting, educational resisting, and every way, but actually till now none of them worked. But you said like we are full of hope. Sorry, like I would like to correct you a little bit. We're not full of hope. I mean, hope left the chat, as they say in this country. Hope like out of this place. What you are saying, what you are filled of is faith, actually, more than hope. So if you have read the history of Palestine, this country has been conquered by 27 civilizations through like the beginning of its, the world till this day, what happened to this powerful civilization? What happened to these like conquerors or like settlers on this land? One thing, collapsed, and the indigenous raised again after, even though like it took like hundreds of years of occupation, hundreds of years of colonialism, but at the end of the like day, they collapsed, and the nations and the indigenous raised again. And if we have to learn one thing from history, it's only one thing. First, it repeats itself. And the thing that we are learning of it, oppression never lasts forever. That's actually our perspective to the future of this country, to be back as it was. Palestinians, for the Christians, Muslims, Jewish, to live in harmony in the same own land without the Zionists. That's the demands. Even though it seems impossible right now, but like, as I said, history repeats itself. Oppression never lasts forever.
I agree with Saad. I mean, it's when you meet Palestinians, especially the younger generation, I wouldn't even use the word faith, I would say certainty. So everybody feels that it is we will win. People are tired from the occupation, people tired from the from living with all of the walls, checkpoints, and all of the concerns. But no one is questioning that this will end to the favor of the Palestinian people. And this certainty of the Palestinian people actually drives Israeli analysts crazy. When we encounter them, they say, but why do you believe like this? And when you speak with an Israeli, they're always doubtful about the future. They're not certain of the future. And that's very ironic in a way. The people who are oppressed feel very powerful, and the people who are the oppressors feel very weak and insecure. That's one of the ironies of the world.
Actually, this is one of the cases in every colonialism case that happened in this world. It's always the colonized against the colonizer, even though like they are powerful against the weak, the exploited against exploiters, and the occupied against the occupiers. That's a concept that gives us always this kind of faith to resist and to stand tall in these situations, because everything, it's the same concept. We're living in one of the recent settler colonialism in this world, and that must be, it must an end. It must be stopped, because we got enough from this unbearable life. We got enough from waking up, checking every member of our family if they're alive or not every single day. Our mothers spent their days, nights waiting on the windows for us to be back, even if they just sent us to buy something from a market which is 5 meters next to us. It's enough for all the Palestinians to handle all of this. So, but at the same time, we believe that a life without respect, a life without freedom, without freedom of movement, without having our mere human rights, is not essential for us. Because life and having freedom and having this kind of human rights, and to have a normal things that the people have, is as essential as life itself. Without them, we don't consider that we're living a normal life. And that's the sole thing that we have been resisting it since the day of Nakba till this day. And our resisting is being called terrorism. That's the other thing that makes us devastating, how the concept, how the situation in Palestine is being conveyed to the Western world through the Western media. So we are defending of our rights, we are defending of our mere human rights, our own our lands, our existence and our identity. This thing has never supposed to be called terrorism at all. It's called fighting for our freedom. It's called getting our rights back.
Saad, Aida camp is, for the people who don't, but most of you maybe know Aida camp. It's next to the wall, next to a checkpoint. It is in Bethlehem city, a city that is visited by millions every year. And your grandfather, who's 99 years old, he sees all of these groups. So many of them, they come and to see the realities. They do like AIDA tours, refugee camps, and so on. What is his opinion about all of the internationals who are coming into Bethlehem, and they leave? They see the wall, they see the checkpoint, they see the refugee camps, they meet people in Bethlehem. Millions come, millions go. And does this make your grandfather hopeful? Does your grandfather ignore them?
Actually, my grandfather actually met many of them. And he's actually has more energy more than me, by the way. It's like if you speak with him, it's like he needs translator. So he has like more energy than me. Like he meets a lot of them. He speaks with his heart. He speaks every single thing that he feels to them. And he taught me this. We believe in the individual change. Me as a Sa'id, I believe in the individual change. Maybe one of these millions, or like, of course, not millions who visit us, like thousands, who visit us and see this doing reality, maybe they would have the way to change the situation here, because the liberation in this land comes from inside and outside, not from the inside only, or not also from the outside only. So, and we believe in something called the butterfly effect, which is a few effects, few like movements, like the small details happens in a place, like repeatedly could do like a drastic change in the whole world. And that's like our view, our perspective to the visitors who come here. We always tell them, we promoted you to be our ambassadors now, because you have to be our voices in your countries, because we can't send our voice to you. Like you have to be our voice. You should like speak what we told you. And not only this, we always tell them that here, the case of Palestine, it's not for the Palestinians only. It's for everyone who believes in justice. It's for everyone who believes in humanity and have little of justice in their heart. That's the case of Palestine. It's like between as I said recently, between the colonized and the colonizer, and the weak against the strong, and actually like, between the settlers and the indigenous people. That's the thing of Palestine.
Thank you very much, Saed. Bethlehem always brings good news. It brought good news 2,000 years ago with the birth of Jesus. Now it is also giving us good news through Saed. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you all for your solidarity. Thank you all for sending out the emails and the support, or calling your representatives, for keeping Palestine part of the agenda. It needs to be part of the agenda. We need to hold Israel accountable, and also the international community. We need to put an end to the suffering of our people, and we need to do it together. From the inside, we have a responsibility, people like Saed and myself, but also people from internationally. You also have a responsibility. Together, we build one body of humanity. Thank you all, and see you next week. Thank you, Saed.
You're welcome.